One of the most asked questions I get is, what are some ways you can keep the tiles from moving around on the table getting bumped? Personally, I've never had an issue with this, but I figured I'd go ahead and try and address it. We're going to use magnets. I'm not the first person to try this. DMG did it. His was sort of a retrofit. Figured I'd show you how I would do it, integrating it into the tile itself. So, let's get to it.
So the key here is this, adhesive magnetic sheeting, available at most any craft store. This was about $3. So this here that I'm using is about 1 millimeter thick, and so I'll round off another 0.5 millimeter for construction error to give me 61 millimeters. So, recall from episode 2 that your foundation is the double corrugated base of the tile. So I'll cut 61 millimeter squares for my foundations. Then cut strips of the magnetic sheeting. These should be 61 millimeters long and about 1/4 inch tall. Now the idea is simply that instead of using our normal thin cardstock for corrugation cladding, we instead just use the magnetic strip. So hot glue them onto all 4 sides. And you can check that the tile is 2.5 inches in both directions now. If you recall from episode 3, this means our walls have to be done a little differently since they aren't directly attached to the corrugation anymore. It's a pretty simple adjustment. Cut 1/2 inch wide strips of chipboard and dollar store foam board. Peel the paper from the foam and hot glue it to the chipboard. Apply your wall texture just as we did in episode 3. And then simply hot glue the whole thing to the edge of the tile, making sure that it's flush with the magnet on the outside. From here, you prepare and attach the actual game spaces exactly as we did back in episodes 2 and 3, or you can watch my live stream in which I built a full dungeon tile totally from scratch. I'll put a card on the screen with a link to it. And before we go to the table, I'd like to take a moment to thank all WCV sponsors. This week I draw your attention to Dungeon Cast by Dan Bocchini. Dan's designs are full-on custom resin casts. He's currently focusing on 1.25 inch grid tiles destined for box sets with playable D&D scenarios in them, basically an evening in a box. So click the link in the description below and check out the Dungeon Cast Facebook page. Here we go, so they snap together pretty well. Of course I bought this really cheap thin magnetic sheet. I did see some thicker, much stronger stuff that was like a roll instead of a sheet at the store, so depending on how rowdy your players are, you can attach stronger stuff. And polarity is not a problem. Clip-on features, of course, still work fine. And I just realized that I forgot to do community showcases in the last 2 episodes, so here's 3 community showcases in a row. I am Wyloch, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.